going on, Moshe?
Mike, how you doing, man?
All good, man. We're turning the page a little bit behind Nick Sirianni. It seems like maybe. Do you think Nick has gotten out of the weeds on that one, or is that still lingering? His little antics on Sunday.
Well, today's Wednesday, and there's Thursday and Friday and Saturday until.
I don't think he was asked about it today. I don't think he got asked about it today in the presser.
Yeah, I think they're finally ready to move past it. But of course, Sunday brings on a new game and a new set of questions always.
All right, man. Well, we got a lot of questions to get ready for moving forward, and a lot of it concerns. I want to get your take. We talked a little bit about this yesterday. Kurt Warner, the Hall of Fame quarterback, put out a tweet, and I thought it was pretty interesting in when he watches this Eagles offense. And he says, it's fascinating to me that through 3 different coordinators, the pass concepts run by the Eagles remains primarily the same. I would not expect that, especially with Kellen Moore, but maybe it's more about the quarterback than the coordinator in that respect. When you see something like that coming from Kurt Warner, what does that tell you about what he sees in this offense?
It validates a lot of, the discourse that we've been having on Inside the Birds for the last 3 or 4 weeks. And Greg Cosell said some of the same things. And when people say, fire this guy, fire that guy, they always want a new person. They always want a new idea. They always want a new, fresh perspective on something. And then what happens? The same, you do that, right? And you get the same result. And every offensive coordinator, every defensive coordinator, they have a plan, they have a philosophy, they have an approach, but they also have to tailor what they do to their personnel. And if you are an offense coordinator and your quarterback likes certain things and doesn't like certain things, or if you have coaches on your staff who are important, who are play designers, and they like certain things and they don't like certain things, you can be at the mercy to that at times, or you can rule with an iron fist and try to make people do what they don't want to do. That is obviously not just a Kellen Moore issue. I don't want to call it an issue. It's something that every single coordinator and coach has to face, but it's certainly been more under the microscope here in Philly, where ever since losing Shane Steichen, who, by the way, had to modify what he did from year 1 and year 2 for same reasons, you're seeing now that guys like Brian Johnson, guys like whoever you want to talk about who's coached the Eagles offense, maybe they're not always the problem, just the easiest people to blame.
Oh, I think for sure. Like we always, talk about everybody loves to blame the coach, but they don't really know what goes on inside. The coach calls a play, and look, this is where it gets a little convoluted. Did the quarterback change the play? Did he go to a play that he's more comfortable with? Did he not like the play call? And then, of course, the fan retorts with, well, then the coach needs to tell the quarterback he can't change the play. And then you're going down a slippery path where the organization is telling the quarterback that they don't trust him enough to do that. So it's not an easy thing to figure out how to untangle this problem.
Right. I know. And I know that a lot of people might say, well, listen, you're the coach. You tell the player what to do, and you rule with an iron fist, and that's how it gets done. Okay, great. That's nice in theory. Nice in philosophy, but if you're doing that and making a player of yours do something that he's not comfortable with, that doesn't help. And then if you're creating, friction, and I'm not saying that this is happening, I'm just saying like hypotheticals. Mm-hmm. If you're ruling with an iron fist, and now you've created, friction between yourself and your player who's not playing well because he's doing things that he's not comfortable with, well, that's not good either. So it's really easy to just say, well, the coach should do this and the player should do this. No, that's why we talk about the importance of coach-quarterback symmetry, coach-offense harmony, or coach-player understanding and harmony. And you saw it on defense when it wasn't there last year, what the end result was, because a lot of players didn't like what Sean Desai or Matt Patricia were asking them to do. And when they were asked to do it, they were awful at it, right? So it's just not as simple as new guy, new coach, new philosophy, everything all good now,
right.
Which I tried to talk about so much, all throughout the offseason, the summer, training camp, and just caution against that. People get excited by big names. They get excited by off seasons. They get excited by coaches who have credentials, but it takes a lot more than that.
Moshe, when a guy like Kurt Warner says the past concepts remain the same, when you watch this offense, is that part of the reason why they are, as Lane Johnson put it, constipated? I mean, are they not a creative offense? Is it not an offense that's fun? Is it not an offense that is fluid?
Part of it, I think what he's also trying to say is, in general, like past concepts around the league, it's not like one person does something so radically different in the passing game than every other person, right? He's basically saying you watch the tape, you see that, 4 verts or a screen or, 2x2 or 3x1. Yeah, you can add a little motion to it. You can add a little shifting. You can do some different things, but route concepts remain the same all across the league, okay? Nobody's running a route tree that 31 other coordinators have never heard of or seen it before. So what Kurt is saying is when you have a new guy who's adding the same pass concepts, but also trying to do some different things to give a different look, but the throws are the same or the plays that are not being made are consistent from year to year, it can't just be on the coach. And what he's basically trying to say, look, Jalen Hurts likes a certain thing. He likes a certain type of throw. We all know it. He likes to throw outside the numbers. He does it really well. If you give him great players who win outside the numbers like A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith, he looks a lot better.
Okay, well, let me interject with this then. And you're right. Like, you got great players, and that's why it's so clunky, or why it's surprising it's so clunky. You got great players. So our team's saying after 2 years of watching you, we know you like to go outside, and we're just not going to let you do it.
Mm-hmm. Why would they let him go outside?
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, these teams have now said, like, in 2022, Jalen Hurts had an unbelievable season because no one really kind of expected him to be able to do what he's doing. Well, here we are 2 years later, and it's like, well, this is what I like to do. This is what I like to do. And teams have said, look, this is all you're showing us you could do. So they're making it a lot more difficult to do what he likes to do, and he's not showing a willingness to do something different. So it's like, hey, this guy was really good. Well, now the league has a lot more tape on him, and they're saying, hey, you like to go outside the – and even though you have these 2 great weapons and receivers – you are not hitting your ceiling because other teams are saying, we know what you like to do.
Yes. I think you encapsulated it pretty well there. And maybe Jim Schwartz on Monday looked back and watched the film and said, did I just, because Jim Schwartz is doing a lot of stuff differently this year as far as loading his fronts, blitzing more, zero blitzing, things like that. But he's still a traditional, like the back end of his defense is going to be cover 3, 1 safety deep, right? For the most part. And when you play 1 safety deep and cover 3 looks, you leave one-on-ones on the outside. So maybe he's looking back saying, man, if I had run 3 or 4 less or fewer of those, because that's really where Jalen Hurts can only hurt me, right? We win that game. But he also only allowed what did the Eagles score? 20 points. So, I mean, it's he did his job as a defensive coordinator as well. You can't play non-cover 1, cover 3 coverages the entire game. You've got to eventually do what you do, mix it up, and he paid the price on a few plays that meant the difference.
Geoff Mosher, Football at 4 from the Inside the Birds podcast, InsideTheBirds.com. I talked about this in the opening today, what Detroit does offensively. Their talent is very good. I wouldn't say, man, Amon-Ra St. Brown and Jamison Williams are head and shoulders better than what you have. I wouldn't say David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs are head and shoulders over what you have. I wouldn't say that Jared Goff is head and shoulders over what you have. Their offensive line is really good. Even if you want to say it's better than yours, it's not head and shoulders better. So why are they fun and you're not?
Well, I mean, I know Saquon Barkley's had a great year, although he didn't have a great game against the Browns. But I would say the Gibbs-Montgomery combination is probably the head and shoulders over just like one individual run. I mean, they're like, if you put them together, they're even better than a Saquon Barkley because they can literally do everything.
Listen, I'm even saying if you want to say
right, that's not your bigger point.
I'm saying you might say Amon-Ra St. Brown and Jamison Williams. I like that duo better than I like Brown and Smith. Okay, fine, but it's not head and shoulders better.
True. But I mean, are the Lions head and shoulders better than the Eagles? Probably right now. Yeah.
Okay.
They've had their struggles too. I know they lost one at home to Tampa Bay, right? And it just didn't click for them that game. But to your point, Yes, they are a much more fluid offense. They are an explosive offense. They showed the Cowboys. They embarrassed and humiliated the Cowboys. I almost thought that was a repayment for what happened to them on Thanksgiving last year when the refs took away a touchdown with the extra reporting tackle. So they decided to empty their entire bag. But yeah, they have an amazingly fluid offense that can attack. It can run well with the running backs. It can throw the ball to the running backs. It can attack you at all three levels with Amon-Ra St. Brown middle or Jameson Williams deep or Laporta in intermediary. So yeah, they are, and their quarterback plays well, and he's been with this coordinator for 3 years now, right? I think it's at least been 3 years that he's been with Ben Johnson, and they're on the same page, and the quarterback may not be the Tom Brady, but he makes throws that need to be made at certain times when you've given him good weapons. I mean, it's been a really nice revival story for Jared Goff, who was kind of a laughing stock in the league after, he got traded there as kind of a throw-in on that deal. Mm-hmm. So it's been fantastic. Now, the Eagles don't do any favors, right, for their quarterback because they've had so many different. The Eagles sort of reacted like fans sometimes. Just blame the coordinator, right? And the problem is, Jason Avant said on Q&A podcast on Inside the Birds, he feels like Kellen Moore's system needs at least a year to learn. So he feels like next year Jalen Hurts will look better. As long as Jalen himself starts to acclimate and lose some stubbornness, he'll start to look better and more comfortable in Kellen Moore's offense. But you and I both know there's not going to be a year or two of Jalen Hurts and Kellen Moore's offense if they average 20 points a game this year. There's going to be a house cleaning. There always is.
Right now, by the way, Detroit's played 5 games. They've scored 151 points, aided by the fact that they just scored 47. Philadelphia in 5 games has scored 106 points. So there's a big difference. Yeah, there's a big difference there. To which I would say, Moshe, the difference for me is Detroit, who has great skill players all over the place, they are still comfortable saying, the star of this offense is our offensive line. And it feels that the Eagles are unwilling to be that team that says, even though we have stars, our line is our star. And the Lions are saying, no, we're going to kick the crap out of you up front so that we can allow our stars to be stars because the other team is so physically beat up. They can't rush the passer the way they want, and they can't stop the run the way they want because our line has physically beaten you. And the Eagles refuse. They did it in 2022, and it took a team that was not talented enough to the playoffs, and they refused to do it because they put money into their star positions.
Yeah. Now, did they try to do it more against the Browns? Certainly. They clearly ran against the depleted Browns defense more than they've run at a clip in any other game this year. They really did try to be more of a ground and pound team philosophically, I'll say, or at least by run rate. But the Browns did an excellent job. They have a good defensive line. They got healthier and they crowded it with 6 or 7 guys. They're not the same inside with Cam Jurgens as a center. Jason also, Kelsey struggled earlier in his career with the big guys who play head up over the center, and Cam is doing that now. You almost never see Cam single blocking the man in front of him. So they have lost a little bit of that lunch pail on the inside with that, and of course a new right guard. But Mike, the big thing is, to your point, I'm watching the game again for the second time today, and in the second half, on their first drive, they come out and go under center, and I'm like, whoa, there we go, under center. We've been talking. It's maybe like the third time in the game they did it. And they run a pretty cool play. It's like the left guard pulls to the right, but the play actually goes to the left, and the outside run, Saquon Barkley picks up 6 yards. I'm like, wow, I like that. All right, got to run. You went under center. Now you can, go back under center and maybe show the same formation, but work play action out of it and take a deep shot. No, I mean, you didn't see under center for I don't know how much long. I mean, that might have been just the 4th snap that they played the entire game under center. So, to your point, you're asking, is that the coach's philosophy of all this? Because that's what Kellen Moore does, or is it because the quarterback doesn't like being under center? You have to placate your offense to the quarterback. Yeah. So it takes away what you want to be, your identity, if you don't have symmetry and harmony among your staff and your players.
Yeah, because if you're going under center, you have the weapons to use play action way more because Barkley's a threat. So they have to address a play action, and then that gives your outside stars better options, better opportunities. The play to me that really proliferates all of this is the touchdown to Smith. It's a 5 air yard throw. It's not a throw down the field. They have the ball at the 45. They snap it. He throws the ball to the 40, and Smith catches it and takes off. Why? There's miscommunication in the secondary. There's a pick in the secondary. You are allowing your star players to get the ball in space. And if anybody's watched this league, nobody can tackle. So guess what? I'll take my chances with A.J. Brown making a guy miss and being able to get big plays out of that, as opposed to constantly taking shots down the field.
Yeah, it's interesting, too, because A.J. Brown is a guy, Shil Kapadia did a really nice job on Gun on One. It's on Inside the Birds right now, up today, talking about how A.J. Brown in Tennessee was a guy who was not just known for the deep ball, but really more known for that quick in, break a tackle, go get upfield, make yards after catch. That was his game. I mean, that's what he was known for. But since he's come here and linked up with Jalen Hurts, he has been a far more productive player outside the numbers, downfield, showing those great, amazing, late, strong hands that he has. I mean, he's really it's a feather in the cap of A.J. Brown to show how much more of a multi-level attacker he is as a wide receiver and his abilities. But it is rare that they get him sprung on the middle of the field throw, then he turns upfield and goes. He had a couple of comebacks, like 2 or 3, that were short of the sticks where he broke a tackle and got first down. But that's not what we're talking about, a comeback. We're talking about a bang 8 or smash routes where you're in cutting, catch the ball in stride, and then make that quick turn upfield to get more yards after the catch.
You know what, though? I'll take the comeback routes here and there and filter them in and let him try to catch a reverse field and get up and get a missed tackle. And I said it was like there was some fluidity to it. They went to that play, bang, twice, 2 times in a row. It was like right at the end of the second quarter, I think, bang, bang, on the right-hand side. I remember again. I'm like, there you go. There's some fluidity. You are getting Brown involved. He's getting up the field. You're getting 6 yards, 8 yards, 7 yards. Like those kind of things make rhythm of the offense. It makes the offense feel like there's a rhythm. You know, it's funny. As bad as the Browns were, and they were wretched, and Watson, he had a great second half for him. I mean, he completed, 11 out of 12 passes, and he was averaging 4.8 yards per pass this season. It's the worst in NFL history. Well, the other day, 7.3, and in the second half, he almost brought them back in that game because nobody can tackle. It's
so funny that you're bringing this up. So yesterday, I watched it on All 22 in the morning, and I'm just getting with that. That's like my note taking, my observations. What am I seeing differently? And, I observed that both offensively and times defensively, they're a hair off here. They're doing little things that like you can see are correctable. Right. And so I come away from that, Mike, and I'm like, man, they're probably not as far away from being where they want. They just got to correct this stuff. But we are saying this week after week. So they are far away. Right. Today, I rewatched everything with a broader perspective on just what you're saying, like how hard they make it for themselves sometimes, and some of the things they did defensively against Deshaun Watson, who was terrible, but somehow completed 11 or 12 passes. And my takeaway was, holy cow, if they had played like a average team or even a good team, they would have gotten destroyed, by the way, if that way. I mean, it's bad in that regard.
All right, let's get a couple quick news and notes on what's happening here. Jordan Mailata, we know he's going to be out multiple weeks. What is the best course, and what will happen at that spot?
Yeah, I don't know that there is a best course. You suspect that Fred Johnson will get the run at left tackle. That's why he's here and on the team. He has played right tackle for the Eagles as well. However, Mekhi Becton, I don't think they'll do this, but you have to keep it in the back of your mind. Becton in better shape now, playing right guard. He is a natural left tackle. You could move him there if you wanted to and get Tyler Steele back in at right guard. And that's sort of based on Tyler Steele playing well a couple of weeks ago when he had to sub in when they had those injuries up front and Becton came out with the hand injury. But
Ordinarily, I would say don't even think about that because the Eagles don't like to weaken two positions. They'd rather just replace one. However, deviated that from a little bit so far this year in that when Cam Jurgens came out of the game, they moved Landon Dickerson to center. Mm-hmm. And that was an in-game thing. But even this past game against the Browns, Nick Gates was inactive. So if there were an injury to Cam Jurgens, they were going to have to slide Dickerson to center again and then just put in a new left guard. So I don't know if it's like all of a sudden they have a different approach or philosophy and if that's based on personnel. But, Fred Johnson, if he struggles at left tackle, I imagine he's going to get the first run. But if he struggles or if they see something in practice and they're like, man, he's just not holding up, then maybe you see a Becton left tackle and Tyler Steen right guard combo.
If Slay can't go, what happens there?
Isaiah Rodgers.
Isaiah Rodgers.
And you play Isaiah Rodgers and you just hold your breath against Neighbors and Slayton, right? And Wan'Dale Robinson.
All right. Dallas Goedert likely will be out, we imagine. You just go Calcaterra. What else happens there? He made some. He's obviously was here because he could catch the ball. They like him in the pass game, but losing Goddard, I guess, changes what you could do in the run game.
Yeah, it certainly does. You have Jack Stoll there for that, and we'll see if they elevate E.J. Jenkins from the practice squad, who can be an adequate blocker. He's a 260-pound guy. So I don't think he's out of elevations. I know he was elevated week 1, but I think that was it. So probably there. They have C.J. Uzomah. They could also elevate him. They cut him for a reason, though. Yeah. There was really not a lot of juice game, and I don't even recall him. He used to be known as a pretty good blocker. I'm not sure how much of that he's got left in him as well. So you're going to be heavy 11 personnel. You're going to try to throw the ball, out of 11 personnel and hope that Stoll and Calcaterra can get most of that job done.
All right.
Loss, though.
Yep, it's a big loss there. We'll see what ends up happening in the run game this week against a Giant team that's got a pretty good defense. Their offense struggles, obviously. They should get Neighbors back, Singletary back. We'll see what that does for this Giants team. But the Eagles going to MetLife this Sunday, and you can hear the game right here on 97.3 ESPN. Football at 4, Geoff Mosher, everybody, here on the Sports Bash. Thanks, Moshe.
You got it, Mike. Take care.
As always, Geoff Mosher and the Inside the Birds guys here on a Sports Bash Football at 4. And